After the attacks of 9/11, the US wanted to change its strategy in the Middle East and beyond the Middle East. The idea here is that we need an enemy in order for us to replant ourselves, or to plant ourselves rather, in the Middle East and West Asia in a strategic way. We need to have military bases everywhere. We have to be close to all the energy and oil sources. We need to be close to Israel. We need to protect Israel, and we need to do a lot more. But the problem is we don't have an enemy. Then the enemy presented itself. Islamic terror, Islamic fundamentalism. The fact is, Muslims were actually not united, and they are still in many ways are not united. In fact, most Muslim countries are actually pro-Americans. So what's the problem here? So these kind of non-state actors, transnational, transborder groups like Al-Qaeda and eventually ISIS gave that pretense to the Americans. So since these guys are Muslims, let's paint all Muslims to be seen as either terrorists or potential terrorists, and that gives us some sort of a pretense of why we are in the Middle East. We are here to police the world and to protect the world against those terrorists. That worked, sadly. It worked so well that even the Muslims themselves turned against each other. Shias fighting against Sunnis, civil wars everywhere, and all the rest. But now, this is changing again. And a new type of Middle East, in fact, a new type of a Muslim world is emerging. And the reason behind all of this is Gaza. In Egypt, they are chanting for Shia leader Hassan Nasrallah. In Iran, they are raising the pictures and the posters of Sunni leaders in Gaza and elsewhere. The idea that the Muslims are terrorists and they are just this random killing and chopping of heads, it's no longer there. They are fighting for a liberation movement, or in solidarity with the liberation movement in Palestine, and they are fighting against colonialism in the Middle East. And the Shia Sunni element is disappearing faster than we could possibly imagine. Now, this is not the Middle East that the US was bargaining for, and this is not the kind of Islamic fundamentalism that the US was counting on. In fact, the moment that Israel began attacking Gaza on October 7, they immediately kind of start delving into this ISIS and Daesh and the flags, and we saw that they are trying to make chemical weapons and hoping to kind of get to the collective American psyche that this is just but a continuation of a war that W. Bush started many years ago, so we should be cool. But no, they're not cool. And even if the media continued with this massive propaganda, and they will, I don't think it's going to actually change much on the ground, because the initiative this time is actually taken by the people in the Middle East and by Arab and Muslim countries, more importantly by Arab and Muslim peoples and by the Palestinians themselves. It's the Americans who are on the defensive. Inventing a new discourse, well, you don't really have time for that. So your only option is to delve to an old, worn-out discourse about Islamic terror and Islamic fundamentalism. But that's not selling anymore. The Americans are losing control over the war, over the region, and definitely over the narrative as well.